Yes, welcome friends. We are back in the quarantine zone. Sandy, you unmuted. You're muted, bro. This is like some Zoom stuff happening. Maybe do the reset with the headphones. So folks, I'm very, very pleased about this one. Sandy Buglass over here. Why do I always get my directions wrong? Sandy is a complete legend and a really great composer. And we got, still can't hear you, bro. Well, he's becoming a little bit less of a legend every second at this point. But anyway, maybe just do the unplug and replug thing. I don't know, bro. Kintsugi-san, welcome. Thanks for joining us. Everyone else who's tuning in, thanks very much for joining us. Sandy and I have known each other for ages, but we move in kind of different musical circles. And so we actually don't really play together very much. So this is the first time we've worked on something. This is so funny. We're getting kind of like an action. Can't hear you, man. Can't hear you. Sorry. I apologize if that's my end. It's not inconceivable that it could be my end. So yeah, we got loads of exciting things to talk about. And also, Sandy is really, really funny. And this may be some kind of elaborate prank he's pulling on me, knowing him. Yeah, I'm just going to give him a minute to get sorted. We've got 2 videos for you and some historic comedy content that Sandy has been involved in. So yeah, I'm looking forward to sharing that. How long can I keep a monologue going? There he is. There he is. There you are, Sandy. I've got you, man. You there? I just heard a noise. This is quite funny. Well, I definitely didn't anticipate this, folks. What do you think I should do? What would you do in my situation? Should I do a dance or something? Sandy, you there, mate? Uh-oh, that's not good. How are you liking my, how are you liking this? This is new. Come on, Sandy, there he is. Let's add him. Let's add him to this. Hey, bro, you there?
Can you hear me now?
Oh, yes.
Fuck, man, so sorry. I don't know what it's doing. It was working.
Computers are weird, man. But I think if you actually think about what's going on here, it's so amazing that it doesn't even matter when things mess up a bit like that, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Although, given that we spent like a year and a half in lockdown communicating like this, you'd have thought I'd have my shit together by now. But...
It was interesting that when we did a technical check about half an hour ago, you were saying, yeah, I upgraded my internet because, you know, I was teaching all these kids and they're paying thousands for the education, so I had to get a good internet connection. It's like, clearly didn't sort some headphones out. I don't know, you probably did. But.
Sort it out, Grandad. Yeah, I know, it's still a bit, yeah.
It's probably this compatibility thing or something. But it reminds me of when, you know, if you're like on a flight or something and someone like complains that to the stewardess that the steward or stewardess, oops, gender blunder already in the first couple of minutes, that's not good. Someone complains to the air steward or air stewardess that the Wi-Fi is too slow. And you're like, look, you're in a metal can flying through the air above the earth. Just chill. That's quite amazing.
It is, yeah.
You know, focus on.
I have to remind myself of that. I'm the worst for being like, this goddamn thing doesn't work, and then I just have to calm myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perspective. So thank you for joining. I'm really pleased, Sandy, because you know a couple of people wrote in complaining about the lack of diversity on the QZ. So finally, we've got a ginger person. You are the first, and hopefully not the last. So thank you.
Yeah, you got a legit ginger Scotch person on the QZ, QZ,
That's it, man.
QZ. How do you pronounce it?
Well, I'm doing Z, but that's from The Last of Us, this video game. I know it's not correct in British English, but no, that would be ridiculous if you're actually the first Scottish person, considering my fondness for Scotland in my 6 years of living there. Hey man, let's talk about that. So you are from, give us like a very quick lowdown, not all the boring stuff, but like when did you move to London? I met you when you moved to London, and where were you before that and so on? Give me like a brief.
Well, I grew up in Aberdeenshire, sort of like northeast Scotland, and I
Mm.
looked. It came to leaving school and potentially going to uni, and I presumably what I did was look at a map of the UK and thought, what's the farthest away from Aberdeen I can get, and that was Brighton.
Well, would we have
So
like a
actually,
really small map or something? Did your parents not tell you about Europe and?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was a very kind of UK centric map. Yeah. And so I went to Brighton from 2004 to 2011 and kind of studied there. I say studied in the loosest of terms. It was arsed around there, really, just, mucked about from 2004 to 2011. And I moved out to London 10 years ago. Yeah, there you go. Is that
Great.
pithy enough?
That was pretty damn pithy. Yeah, so I
Yeah.
moved to London, I think just a bit before then. About the first time I remember meeting you was there was this jam session. When I think about jam sessions, like as a kind of social environment and to make connections, they're obviously a kind of important part of the ecosystem, but they don't lend themselves to calm and considered interaction and music making because
Yeah.
it's just kind of pressurized, right? So it's always going to get
Yeah.
a bit macho. But I do remember meeting you at one of them anyway, and you seemed nice. So we we kind of kept in touch. And folks, let me tell you a little bit about Sandy's stuff that he won't say. Sandy's a very, very fine guitar player. He does lots of pop and kind of blues rock things. He's done a package for Jam Track Central, highly esteemed kind of practice tool for guitarists. He works a lot with producers, doing kind of music for film and TV, adverts, commercial music like that. He's performed and written and done all kinds of things with Pixie Lott and other artists. However, one of the things probably that's most exciting for you, Sandy, I guess, is Kanoo. Tell us about Kanoo. Super cool band, but in your own words.
Yeah, so I think the genesis of that was I was kind of probably doing like a lot of function gigs and sessions and stuff, and but all day in like the staff room at like BIM London in Fulham where I teach, and also just with some friends that I was socializing with. All that we'd speak about is like just music that we loved, whether that was like the Pixies and Fugazi and Nirvana, or whether it's like some Bill Frisell record, or whether it was like whatever it was. We just talk about that, and then my friend Greg Hoffman, really fine bass player, was just like, man, why don't you like? I don't understand why you're just doing like some functions and sessions stuff, but all you talk about is like, whatever it's like Bill Frisell or Nirvana or like whatever it is, like that's all you talk about. Why don't you start a band why don't you do some stuff like that? And I was like, oh yeah, why don't I do that? So that was the kind of genesis of the band. And yeah, we are soon to be releasing our 4th EP. It was a little bit of a slow start. We experimented with some different lineups, and it was that kind of we went through that development period of, well, which we're still going through, but that development period of like, what is this supposed to be? How is this actually going to work in practice, not just in theory? All that kind of stuff. And so it was a little bit of a slow start. So technically we started the band 3 years ago, but really it was from mid to late 2019 that we actually started taking it seriously. So that was, which is slightly unfortunate, obviously, then with the timing of with the pandemic and everything. So we're now kind of getting back on it properly. And we've got our 4th EP that's going to be out sometime within the next 4 weeks.
Good going, man. Good going. 4 EPs.
Yeah.
It's not too shabby. I mean, when you were saying that Greg was saying to you, why don't you do this? I mean, I can think of a number of reasons. Mainly variations on it's very hard to do. Musicians, in London to get by here, like it's great, but you kind of have to be really busy all the time, which means a couple of things, so that you don't have time to actually do other stuff. But to be creative and just think about, okay, let me dream up my own song when you've just finished learning 20 new ones for whatever, and you're practicing your sight reading for some other thing or whatever it may be. So massive respect, man. A lot of people don't make that leap to creating anything. And it's not that, like, as in creating something completely from scratch that they have ownership of. And that's not to say that everyone has to. But I think a lot of people want to and don't do it. So anyway, Kanoo is great. Tell me who's in the band. Is Greg in the band, or was he just there.
No, he's not. He was in one of the initial sort of incarnations. He was, but our bass player is John Clifford Cox. That's his full name.
Yeah.
As he likes to be known.
Okay.
And his bass player and
Pause.
John actually played.
Pause. There's about 4 Johnny Coxes in London, which is probably why he's attached to the middle name, right?
Yes, yeah, I think that's what he said. I think John said there's like a million John Coxes, so I'm going to emphasize my middle name to distinguish myself.
Yeah. So sorry, yeah, I cut you off there, but John
no,
Cox.
yeah, so and actually the genesis of the band is quite funny actually, because the drummer is a dude called Ed Broad, and I thought I met Ed playing football, and I don't know why, I thought I'd met him playing 6-a-side, 7-a-side football, because there's some kind of muso leagues in and around London that play football. And I was like, well, obviously, and then me and Ed jammed. This was like 23 years ago, ever. I was like, well, obviously, you know, that was it was that time of football. We were chatting about the band, and he was like, I don't play football. I was like, huh? And he's like, I'm not messing around. I've never played football in my life. So I don't know who you were talking to, but it wasn't me. So I basically started, I don't know, must have started the band under the false pretense. I don't know who I was talking to.
That's amazing.
But, Ed Rod doesn't play football, just to put it out there for everyone.
Yeah.
And anyway, so yeah, and then so it's Ed Broad on drums, John Clifford Cox on bass, and me on guitar noodles. And yeah,
Kanoo.
I guess it was
Kanoo. Everyone
That's
going
it,
at it on
yeah.
Apple Music now, or Spotify, or even you can even buy it. Can you still buy music these days?
Maybe. I mean, that's so 20 years ago. But no, I think what we're going to do is all our EPs have just been like digitally distributed or whatever. But when we get around to doing a proper record, which will be next year probably, early next year hopefully, we're going to do some physicals and stuff, and maybe do like the Bandcamp thing. So
yeah, wicked.
Yeah.
I had a thought about that. Oh yeah, mistaken hiring of people. I'm thinking back to a gig that I was doing and someone else was taking over. I need to be careful what I say here. And this guy came to learn all the songs at rehearsal. And he wasn't really it wasn't really like a hard gig particularly, but this guy was really not quite getting it. And it turned out that they'd called him because he was wearing this hat, and his name was Steve. But there was another guy. I do need to be extremely careful what I say now. There's another guy called Steve who also wore a hat, and they got the wrong guy. And this guy was like, I mean, wasn't that up to it really. So it was a disaster. But anyway, so be careful, everyone. Research thoroughly whether people play football, whether they wear hats, and go beyond their first name.
But no, what I was going to say, if we can keep, am I allowed to keep going down the Kanoo Avenue for another minute or two?
Hell yeah, man. People want Kanoo. That's why they came here. So let's give them a bloody Kanoo.
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Tell me.
But no, one of the important things about there was that initial mishap of like, clearly I was speaking to someone else at this football game. But anyway, I think one of the reason why I really love playing and writing with Ed and John is that it's because there's a similar kind of philosophy where it's like they've put their time in with practicing and they've done the more kind of the nerdier stuff, shall we say. But there's definitely that culture of like listening to artists and listening to bands and growing up playing in bands or garage bands or whatever, and that felt that was kind of that was like a commonality, I think, there as well. I think, which I think is kind of important. Just
like playing together. That's what you're getting at, right? Like playing as a team.
Yeah, playing as a team, and just like like the focus being on like certain bands and music and stuff, rather than being on individual kind of musicians or individual like practitioners kind of thing. Because there's definitely that thing of, I don't know if you noticed this, but when I first moved to London, I suppose because of the circles that you're moving within, the only way I could describe it is I felt like the kind of, and I'm not saying this is right or wrong or whatever, but like disclaimer, but like the only way I could describe it is like the aesthetic hierarchy shifted. So when I was in Brighton, it was like artists, bands, writing, bands, artists, writing. When I moved to London, it was like technique, improvisation ability, stylistic literacy, technique, improvisation ability, stylistic literacy. And that it really actually upping my game to as much as I've kind of upped my game on those fronts has been really helpful. But I always felt that like in my heart of hearts, I was more in that kind of like my friends in Brighton, that kind of philosophy kind of sat with me a little bit closer, but at the same time I really did benefit and enjoy getting my arse kicked from folk in London, you know, on a kind of like on a musicianship kind of level, I guess, you know. So anyway, yeah. Maybe you can relate.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think it's certainly for me, in order to, you know, when you're trying to make a name in a new city, which I guess we both were, you're trying to kind of stand out amongst your peers, I guess, which is going to lead to a very kind of individualistic approach. Like, it's just kind of obvious, like that would kind of happen. But, you know, you can hear, we've all been on gigs where someone is playing for themselves and not for the band or not for the greater good. And it sucks. It's bad. It can be to the detriment of the music. So, but you know, it's really cool when we're younger to just like, I think it's really important. I mean, it was really important for me to just go like pure down, like just guitar tech,
100%
rabbit hole for a bit. But then you very much have to emerge out of it and listen to music that doesn't have guitar and listen to guitar as a supporting instrument and so on. You've got to tip that balance back and realize that. I remember, I think I was like playing something in rehearsal and I just jokingly to the bass player, I said like 2 lines. I'd worked out this thing that was 2 lines at the same time and I gave like a narrative with it, like just being a complete, I was like, this is 2 lines at the same time. And he was like, no one cares. No one cares. I was like, it's a very good point. You know, there might be some new extended technique with harmonics that you employ, but no one really cares, except for maybe one guitar player who's watching. Anyway, so the 2 pieces that we're going to play today, are they out there in the public domain under the Kanoo title?
Yeah, so one of them is completely unrecorded and unreleased, which was Seola, which we put out on YouTube and stuff on Instagram last week, I guess, or 2 weeks ago, whenever. And the one that we're gonna drop.
That's what the kids say, right?
That's right. To use the contemporary parlance. But yeah, no, the ones that are getting released now is F Sharp Infinity, and a full kind of band version of that is on Spotify. Yeah.
Yo, man, you got to explain something to me. When I sent the, I think I sent the stems to you, and I had it like spelled like F Sharp definitely, you know, which is like a little Easter egg for the Scottish people out there. Hey, Tim Rose, by the way, not technically Scottish, but very much in spirit Scottish. And then when you sent back the mix track, it had been changed from definitely to definitely. And I was like, who's this? Someone has decided, either you or your friend Andrea, who mixed it, decided to correct my deliberate type. Was that you or was that the mix engineer?
That must have been, Andre must have been the culprit. Sorry, explain to me what the joke is. That's gone over my head.
I don't know, just you know, some of my Scottish friends say definitely, which I suppose it's not like definitely. I mean, you know, the way if you write it how it sounds, there's an A in there instead of an I.
Right. Okay. I mean, no, it's good. It's good comedy content. That's clearly, it's too highbrow for Andre.
Anyway, so this, maybe let's go to the first tune. I really like this. I think of you when we put this on. Everyone, I want you to visualize, you know, a young Sandy, like with his caber. That's exactly it. Yeah, he's had a quake. Quake. That's some niche. Are you impressed that I know what a quake is?
That is very niche. Yeah.
I'm impressed. I'm impressed that I know what a quake is. So yeah. No. Anyway, I hope you like this piece. It's very folky actually to me, and a lot of the music I've been putting on here is just like really full on like urban shred. So this for me is a bit more rural, let's do it. So this is F sharp infinity. Hope you like it, folks. That was the wrong one. Sorry. That was a disaster.
That sounded. Let's play that one instead.
Oh God, we'll get to that. Beautiful tune, man.
Powerful.
Hey, everyone.
Powerful stuff.
So now, everyone, you got to go and hear the electric version where Sandy is playing like a really gnarly, like Sonic Youth, Kurt Cobain-ish kind of solo and stuff. Such a nice energy. So go and check that out. And hey, also, if anyone's watching on YouTube, Kintsugi-san, And also, of course, Craig2380. Subscribe on YouTube. I'm trying to get over 1,000 subscribers. A lot of my friends who do internet guitar, they have like 1 million or whatever. I'm just trying to get 1,000, so then I can buy a gold guitar. But
that sounds good.
Beautiful piece, Sandy.
Nice, thank you.
How do you write with the boys? Do you take like a completed thing to them, or do you jam together, or do they bring ideas? How's it work?
It's a bit of both, but it's usually I'll bring in either a full thing or like 75-80% of something, and then we'll kick it about and mold it. And it's quite a nice dynamic because John, the Kanoo bass player, is pretty like, he's like, yeah, this stuff's great, cool, I'm digging this sort of thing. And then Ed, the drummer, is like nonchalant. It's just like, yeah, whatever, it's all right, yeah, whatever, it's fine. So like which is quite a nice kind of two extremes to kind of work with, just to get a bit more objectivity on the piece, on the ideas that you're bringing in, I suppose. And I think with that tune, I was listening to loads of I don't know how you pronounce them. Is it Tinarewan? They're a Malian band.
Yeah, mate, I saw them at the Roundhouse. It was killing.
Oh,
amazing!
Wow.
I didn't know that, man. I was totally thinking of that in one of those sections. I had no idea you were thinking about them. Wow.
Yeah. So my friend James Yates, James introduced me to a record of theirs called Elwan. I think it's Elwan. They released that maybe 3-4 years ago, and it was that kind of Malian kind of like rock, like Malian blues rock almost, And I was just like, oh man, this is so cool. But then maybe being like a ginger Scottish person, it probably sounds like, there's probably some Scottish Celtic-y folk things mixed in there, thrown in with some Malian kind of desert rock or something. So yeah.
Well, it's interesting when you have a drone like that. I mean, you can find that in lots of different music, right? You can find it in, like, I guess the bagpipes do that, and then we find it a lot in Malian and other music from the Maghreb, and also in Indian music with the shruti boxes and stuff. I mean, there's something amazing about that sound, just a constant pitch as a starting point. It's a blank canvas, I guess.
For sure, yeah. And then creatively, just trying to like I said, bringing in ideas. And I guess I'm always just, I don't know. I was going to ask you about your writing process, because for me, I'm always trying to seek out, like, rediscover old music, and then also like keep an ear out for really exciting new stuff, and then just kind of transcribing little bits, not necessarily writing it down, but figuring stuff out by ear, and then just piecing, stealing bits from everywhere and then piecing it together in this kind of bricolage, mosaic kind of style.
See what works. I think it's really great when there's someone like a sounding board. I think it was the drummer you were saying, who's maybe a bit more like, it's cool riff, maybe less positive, as opposed to like, bro, like, amazing, everything's amazing. When people are actually quite disparaging, or if even if they say, no, I don't think this is good about a certain thing. To be able, you have to be able to accept that, and it makes you really think about, well, is it bad or is it good, and do I agree with them? And sometimes having that challenge, I think, no, actually, I do think this is good. I do think this is a good riff or a good song. Okay, I'm obviously not going to play it with someone who doesn't like it, but it's quite good to challenge your own resolve in that way, or I guess it's the challenge is coming.
Yeah, for sure. And then John and Ed are they're really good with like arrangement stuff as well. That and they'll say things like, I can just tell, Sandy, that you've like written this by yourself in your living room, because like you're filling up the entire thing. You're not leaving any room for anything. So it's helpful getting that feedback and then working together and creatively in that sense.
That's been quite a hard adjustment I've noticed recently, like in the last maybe 2 or 3 months of gigs coming back from like recording at home. When you're playing along with the backing track or doing the home recording, my tendency is to overcompensate, because you're obviously getting nothing back from the track. Whereas now when we're playing with people, you play one idea and that will create a bit of a ripple or something.
Exactly. What's your kind of writing process and your like listening process? How do you discover new music? Because presumably that's part of what feeds into the creative compositional kind of process. So what's your process?
Yeah. Well, I guess my main development as a musician was when I was studying jazz, whatever that means. I didn't study jazz formally. I did one semester at Berkeley, but when I say studying, I mean just listening to it and trying to figure out what was going on. And that was very much based around the real book. I had this old real book which had error-ridden transcriptions of basically the choruses of these tunes. And so I generally am trying to do something like that, where there'll be a treble clef and bass clef. So there'll be a melody, chords, and maybe some bass information or like rhythm section hits, some important beats that you want emphasized. So normally I would start with that. But what's happened now with my tunes is that I'll have an idea for an intro. Maybe the chords or there'll be something rhythmic that's really hard to improvise on, but I really want to include it. So I've got the lead sheet in the middle, but then tacked onto the beginning are like 5 pages of long rambling introduction, and maybe tacked onto the end are another 3 pages of outro as well. So it's, trying to reconcile those things, I guess. Like I like to listen to a lot of music that doesn't have improvisation in it, as well as listening to people playing long, indulgent, individualistic solos. I love that too. I mean, when it's good.
Yeah.
I don't like it when it's bad. So
yeah, I think sometimes, as long as the end product is great, then the journey there doesn't really matter. So like it could be as like sophisticated or as simple as whatever, but I think that's that thing, isn't it? Like the end goal, if the end product sounds great, then it doesn't matter how you get there,
Yeah, and there's plenty of complicated music that sucks, or music that's inspired by maybe a ratio found in nature, a Fibonacci sequence or something. That doesn't mean that it sounds good. Like just because it has some mathematical meaning in the composition doesn't mean that resonates with the listener. I'll tell you whether I like it or not. And
sure.
And so will you. And we're not all going to agree, and that's good.
Yeah. I went to a Stanley Kubrick exhibition like 3 years ago, and just at one of those London museums. I can't remember which one it was. Whatever, one of the arty ones. And there was a great quote on the wall that he'd given. It was like a quote that was taken, an excerpt from an interview that he'd given, talking about, I don't care how simple or complicated the shot is, or how long it took to make, or how expensive it was. If it's right, it's right, and if it's wrong, it's getting cut, kind of thing. And I was like, man, savage. That's such a savage, but like such a good philosophy to always keep in mind.
Yeah, totally. And it's difficult because sometimes with a song or album or whatever, you'll spend a long time nurturing something, and then you still hasn't arrived at where you wanted it to get to, and you have to cut it. And that's bad because you're cutting out so much work and effort. It's hard, but sometimes you have to make those decisions, don't you?
Yeah. Do you have periods where? Sorry, final question on this compositional process.
It's good.
Do you set aside time to write in a day or a week or a month, or do you just do it when it takes you, or what?
I haven't been writing much recently. I think sort of starting my own band was something I did mainly out of necessity, because I wasn't doing any playing of the sort that I wanted to do. So then writing tunes for that band was a necessity, so done sort of just because I had to. And so I sort of had to carve out time. It wasn't generally something that I do, but often if I'm practicing, or if I'm just playing, I'll play chords and chord melody and stuff, which I guess is a big part of the jazz thing, right? You play probably jazz musicians spend more time playing like a solo version of a tune than I guess than other styles. I don't really know. It doesn't matter. But what am I trying to say? I would be practicing playing a chord melody, and then I would stumble across something, and then I would record it in a voice memo on my phone. So there's probably about 5 ideas here that if I had a week off, I could just soak in one of them for a couple of days and turn it into something. But it's very chaotic, yeah. I don't know about you. I mean, London, you have a day off, and then someone will say, yo, can you get to this place? There's a really sweet gig. Or I've got a friend of mine, I had tickets for Dave Chappelle tonight. Absolutely gutted.
Oh, wow.
I'm going to tell you why. I didn't turn down Dave Chappelle for you. You'll be pleased to know. So,
oh, really?
I've got a sore throat, so I'm awaiting the results of a PCR test. Being a good boy. But anyway, that'll happen. You think today I'm going to do this, and someone will say, oh, what about this comes in? I
Yeah,
find it hard to carve out time.
yeah, for sure. Yeah. No, and that social thing of London, it's not just like a work thing. It's I've got tickets to this, or do you want to go and do this, or there's a birthday party happening down the road, or there's a. It's like
Yeah.
yeah. So it is hard.
Yeah. So, folks, I wanted to let you know. Thanks everyone for tuning in. By the way, this piece with Sandy, it came together so easily. I think we'd penciled in a rehearsal. We were like, come round and let's figure out what we're going to do. And then we were like, oh, we was kind of playing here and the mics were just like, about a meter away. And it was like, why don't we just quickly record it? So we did. We just did a couple of takes. So if you look, you can see we're actually concentrating really hard. Let's just like have a little glance at this video. I love how much we're like, what section's coming next? It's really nice. Also, Sandy, that I didn't have to spend ages like going back and forth. I've done things maybe with trio where drummers in America and a bass players in London, and you're sending files back and forth.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
really nice
right,
how
right.
quickly these came together.
Yeah, well, I'm getting better and I'm getting better and better at just accepting all the flaws in my playing and all the mishits and all the fretting things, and just being like, oh fuck it, just release it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so by the way, people, I know probably no one's watching this with kids, but I just want to say that there are one or two bad words coming up. And but it's all in a good context. So one of the last times that I saw Sandy was, I think we were just playing some tunes together or something.
I think I came to get for a lesson because
Did
it was
you?
semi because it was semi. I was interested in getting a lesson and picking your brains about things, but it was also you were trying to fund a record, so I kind of thought.
Yes.
So we did it that I was like, well, I want to come around and pick your brains about some technique and theoretical stuff, and then I can chuck you, X amount of money.
Awesome. Okay, cool. So what happened, everyone, was, I was crowdfunding this album and I was recording these licks. Basically, when you're crowdfunding, you need to find a way of reminding everyone, hey, everyone, have you given me your money for my album yet? But you don't want to say that directly. So I was recording these licks. I think every fortnight or something, I'd record a crowdfunding lick number 1, crowdfunding lick number 2. And let me give an example. Here's the 10th one. And I should point out that after 18 months of pandemic, I absolutely cannot play this at this point. But this is the sort of thing that I was doing. Little Easter egg in there for anyone who, by the way, you know the way that I named the lick that licked Whitechapel?
Oh, yeah.
If there's any nerds there, what that comes from is this vintage Frank Gambale video. He's got this massive lick called The Lick That Slurped LA. So just in case anyone, I don't name all my licks. In fact, I don't even have any licks anymore. So that was the kind of lick I was doing. And then I was working on another lick, and look what happened. Hey there, welcome to crowdfunding lick number 8.
Yeah. Everyone's sick of these, mate. It sounds terrible, and everyone's sick of the Facebook post. What's been fucking 8 licks already, mate? Yeah, can we cut that? It's fucking dreadful.
I love that, man. I think that was really nice, man, because anyone that had made it to sort of 8.5 licks in the series of me just promoting myself found that very therapeutic. Just you telling me to shut up.
Well, maybe that's why it's quite insane, because it was only we're only semi joking.
Exactly, yeah. Exactly. It was very much rooted in truth.
And I don't know how that first video you played. I'd have to practice for about 19 years to do that But I don't know how you do that stuff.
I show you. It's probably. I think one thing that I really focus on guitar is things that sound interesting or maybe even sound difficult, but that aren't difficult to do. So those sweepy things, honestly, I do actually find them really difficult because you have to have the action so low, and normally I have it a bit higher because I like a bit more dynamic range. But in terms of any more intervallic things, sometimes there'll be a very easy hand motion, but the way that you cross the strings, or a rhythmic grouping that's odd, that tricks the ear into it sounding a lot more exotic than it actually is. So I think, Sandy, if I actually, I could probably explain to you a couple of little things, and then you'd be like, oh, right, I want my money back. That's too easy.
No.
So, yeah, Sandy is an absolutely hilarious person, and I've actually, he's very, very kindly allowed me to broadcast one entire episode of the Roadie, which features Sandy Buglass. Yeah, it's hilarious. So I'm gonna.
Would you like me to explain what it is? Or?
I think that would be great. Yeah, because it might be a bit niche for some people. So please do. Yeah.
Oh well, okay. Yeah, it's just a roadie sort of tech. I guess roadies don't really like to be called roadies, do they? Like a tech, like a guitar tech, who's a bit silly and neurotic and also a bit shit at his job, but yeah, and there's a camera that follows him around his domestic life and his professional life, and essentially it's based off. It's only a slightly more exaggerated version of myself. Essentially, I mean, not that I've done some guitar teching back in the day, but I haven't. I never properly professionally, but I have had friends. Worryingly, I've had friends. I've done about 5 episodes. I'd like to do more, but they're quite tricky to put together. But I have had episodes who, you know, that go out, and then friends who've known me for a long time would get in touch saying, so this is I don't know, it's not really a character, Sam, it's basically just you. I'm like, yeah, I guess so.
I love it, man. I've made my entire family watch some of these episodes. I love the Roadie so much. There are a lot of little Easter eggs in there for guitar players as well, like one of them when you're on the Zoom call and your backdrop is the Ernie Ball like string packet. You're saying check. There's a check. You're writing out a check says 150 pounds, which is a number of extreme resonance with many musicians. It's great. So I'm going to play that at the end. So I've got Kids Write Jokes, Fact of the Day, and one more video. Maybe we'll cut out Kids Write Jokes and Fact of the Day and just go to Sayola.
Let's do it.
So F-sharp Infinity, that is out there in the world, but this piece, well, actually we released it about a week ago, but this is a brand new one. And is this going to be in future electric Kanoo incarnations, or maybe not?
Possibly. It was written with a batch of tunes that when I then took it into this is good for, you know, in terms of, we were talking about objectivity with writing. Sayola was written with a batch of tunes that I took in, and Ed and John were just like, have you ever tried writing at a different tempo? Because like the past 4 tunes you've taken in are at the same pulse. I'm like, oh. So I think it was partly canned it because it was not like rhythmically, I don't know, distinct enough from some of the other ones. But yeah, maybe we will. But for now, it's just our version.
Yeah, great. All right, folks. I hope you like this. This is Sayola by Mr. Sandy Buglass, featuring kind of me, I think.
Wow.
Yeah, man.
Rock and roll.
Such a nice
Rock.
piece, man.
Rock and bloody roll.
So, do you rock and or roll? Have you got your shin pads on then, or what? What was the verdict on them in the end?
They're not on, but they are by my side. So,
You ready to?
you know,
Are you going
I'm
to play
ready to-
football? Have you got the WhatsApp confirmation? I mean, people want to know, you know. They
it's
don't
been it was right down to the line, but we've got two teams and we are playing at 9. It's just been confirmed.
Okay, wicked. Well, yeah, we're coming to the end. So all that remains is for me to thank you. I always get the direction wrong. Sandy, thank you for, yeah, you got it wrong too.
Oh, it's hard. It is hard.
It is hard.
It is hard.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's the opposite of, of how it looks on the screen. Yeah, so thank you, Sandy. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Ryan. Thanks, Tim. Thanks, Keith, or rather Russ. Thanks, Kintsugi-san, Susie. Thanks, Adam. And thanks, everyone on YouTube. Subscribe on YouTube if you want to support more rambling conversations and collaborations. That had a nice rhythm and rhyme, which was not deliberate, actually.
Maybe you should have like a rap hip-hop element to your next
delicious and nutritious and so on. Thank you for joining us, folks. And these videos are going to be, they're over on Sandy's, it'll be a Kanoo YouTube account, right? If people want one more, that's where they're going to be at. Follow Sandy and I on Instagram as well. Kanoo Music, Kanoo, for plenty more of this awesome music. And let's.
And thank you. Thanks so much for having me on, and thanks to everyone that's if anyone's out there. Thank you very much for watching and listening and stuff.
They are, man. We've got 14 people right now. 14 people. We love you.
Yeah, we do.
Everyone who watches after the fact, we like you. But oh god, yeah. All right, too much banter. The viewers are leaving. All that remains, the Roadie. Enjoy this exclusive episode of the Roadie, courtesy of Channel 4. Thank you, Channel 4, and thank you, Sandy Buglass, Sandy Buglass Productions, for this incredible movie film. Bye, everyone.
All right. Peace. So we're back on the road again. Pretty last-minute gig this one, but should be fun. We're off to Bournemouth. The band I'm working with, they're a rock group called Royal Blood, and they're a 2-piece from Brighton. Yeah, should be really interesting. Yep. Hi.
Sandy.
Yeah,
Hey.
Sandy.
Oh my
yeah.
God, thank
How's
you
it going?
So much. Fuck.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming such last minute. You have no idea.
Not a problem. Not a problem.
So the show's in 3 hours actually, so I'm going to need to run you through everything.
Sure. And where are the guitars? Okay, right. Standard tunings, I
Yeah,
mean.
okay. It has to be on this pickup all times, both volumes up, and the same goes for all of the basses. Okay. What's pickup needs to be switched here, both volumes up.
So you pick. That's a pick. But I'd probably pick it up here.
No.
What?
No.
Sorry. Okay. Do you need the strings changed at all? You tune it.
I don't. The show is the most important thing.
Sure.
Tonight,
yeah.
I have to trust that you know what you're doing.
Yeah. I 100%. I know what I'm doing. Okay. So that's some standard tuning, which is D, C. Put the strings, bass, guitars. Oh, we've already met Royal. This must be blood.
Stuff you're releasing at this gig, or these gigs?
No.
Oh, great.
Sorry. Here we all are, backstage. Yeah, got the fruit, drinks, alcohol. Hey, hello, Mikey. Look at me. Water.
I know he's come in last minute, but the chat we've just had, it seems like he actually has never done this before.
So you've never met him before?
I met him about half an hour ago.
All right, guys. Just want to go over a few points here. So
When you say standard tuning, right? I'm obviously going to tune the guitar to a very high standard, but how accurate are you wanting me to tune the guitars?
Well, it's imperative that it's exact. What do you mean? No, but standard means
Sure, but you know,
regular.
I'll just use these, shall I? And are you going to play bass at any time, Benji?
No, he plays drums. We talked about this.
Right, yeah, I knew that. Yeah, it's been a good experience. I think it went really well. The band and the crew are really receptive and welcoming, and I thought it went well.
I mean, it couldn't have gone any worse, to be honest with you. One of the worst gigs we've ever done. I lost confidence with him as soon as I met him. I mean, he wasn't writing anything down. I mean, there is a lot to remember, granted, and I do appreciate he came in last minute. But I mean, was it 3 songs where I had the wrong bass on? When we went into Bloodhounds, he came up to you with an acoustic around his neck, asking if he could play along with the song.
It doesn't even have an acoustic in the song. Just unprofessional.
Unprofessional, like you were saying, he was on stage half the time, trying to get his face in shot.
Texting. Constantly
always
texting.
on his phone. A joke, to be honest.
FaceTiming his family. Just constantly FaceTiming his family, saying, "Look where I am." I could just hear it, because he left his microphone on. "Look where I am. Look where I am."
Yeah, he took your tequila at one point.
Yeah.
And he stole one of my towels as well. I didn't have it. I was dripping with sweat.
But hopefully we can lead to more gigs in the future. Anyways, I'm off back to London. All right. Sorry, I'll go out the other way. There you go.